Hello, beautiful. I'm your host, Nicole Goff. Welcome to the Ecstatic Life Podcast, the podcast for women who want it all: health, wealth, freedom, authenticity, love, beauty, all of the hidden gems just waiting to be uncovered. This is the podcast for women who are ready to discover their inner creatrix, to discover their inner manifester, and who want to find the ecstatic in every day. Hi, and welcome back to the Ecstatic Life Podcast. I'm host Nicole Goff, and I am here today with a solo transmission on how healing your feminine energy can help you to heal your relationship with your masculine partner. And I am joined today by my lovely last born, Mr. JJ here, who woke up right as I was starting to record this podcast. But before we get into this transmission, I just wanted to say that I would love it if you would head over right now to my website, NicoleGoffSpeaks.com/newsletter, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. I not only send these podcasts out to my audience on the newsletter early before I release it on social media, but I also send out a blog that complements the podcast every week, and you will get first insights into any new projects I'm working on and more information on any guests I have on. So NicoleGoffSpeaks.com/newsletter. Please sign up. So on to today's transmission. I believe that most moms are living in a state of overactivated sympathetic nervous systems and elevated levels of cortisol, which most people are calling dysregulated nervous system. So that is a big buzzword right now. It's been going around a lot lately on social media. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about dysregulated nervous systems. And so just first, what does that even mean, right? So essentially, your nervous system controls all of your bodily functions. And it also works with your endocrine system, which controls your hormones. And so when I talk about elevated levels of cortisol, we're talking about stress hormones in the body. So our sympathetic nervous system, that is our fight, flight, freeze, and fawn system. And so we are not supposed to be spending most of our time in this activated sympathetic nervous system, but rather in our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest, digest, relax, recuperate system. And so we see this flipped now where most people are in this sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, freeze, fawn response most of the time. And so your nervous system can also be thought of as all of your sensory perception. And so a really good example that I believe that most moms can understand as far as a dysregulated nervous system goes is that feeling of being touched out. And so that is too much sensory input and overstimulation, overload on our nervous system. And that comes a lot of times from just having kids on you constantly and people needing things from you all the time. And so that feeling of being touched out, it's like a visceral thing. I think all moms can understand that. In the little years, in the infant stage, and you've got a baby that's just literally on you all the time, sucking on you all the time. A lot of times that shows up as this overwhelming urge to throw your baby off of you or something. It's a response that's very common and very normal. So that touched out feeling, that is the sign of a dysregulated nervous system. And so a dysregulated nervous system can come from stress. It can come from trauma, past traumas, childhood traumas, poor sleep, poor diet, constant doing, and multitasking, plus caffeine and sugar and things like social media. Moms are typically overbooked we have a system set up that puts so much extra pressure on moms. We don't have social support systems in place that help relieve our burden, such as grandmas and aunties and, other mamas in our communities that can help with childcare and, take some of the burden off. And generally, fathers are not doing that. And that is part of the problem that we see in a lot of family dynamics and a lot of complaints coming from moms that they feel undersupported, and they feel like a common term that's used now is a single married mom. And I know that in the past I have 100% felt that way. And that is that term really hit home when I heard it, because I had been a single mom and I know what that feels like. And to be in a marriage with a partner where you still feel like you're single and taking on all the burden of childcare and housekeeping and everything else on the to-do list is it's a painful place to be in. I mean, so moms are overbooked, plus we're not getting enough sleep, we're not getting enough alone time, we're not getting the outlets that we need to decompress. And so this is all contributing to that frazzled, stressed out nervous system, that just frazzled, stressed out feeling that we're carrying around with us all day. And I mean, if you think about it, typical day for a mom is getting a half night's sleep because you're up with crying babies or kids or, whatever. So not getting enough sleep at night. And then first thing in the morning, we're generally fueling ourselves with caffeine. The caffeine spikes your cortisol levels. So it's like basically like jumping out of bed and having, a lion in your kitchen. First thing in the morning, throwing caffeine into your system. And it's, it's funny because really, if you think about it, you need the caffeine in the afternoon when you slump. In the morning, you should be waking up full of energy. If you're getting proper sleep and your circadian rhythm is on point and everything, you should be waking up with energy, ready to tackle your day. We should not need to be fueling ourselves first thing in the morning with caffeine, but generally that is what we're doing. And so then, we feed the whole family. We have all of our chores, grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning, taking care of everybody in the house, schooling the kids, however we do that. And then most of us taking our kids to soccer practice or ballet lessons or, whatever else, running children around to help them, get their needs met, their entertainment and education and all of that. And a lot of us are doing some kind of work on top of that. As stay-at-home moms, still, most of us are doing something, whether or not that work and time is in exchange for money, or if it's in exchange for, social currency like volunteer work. I mean, that is a way that we support our families by community building. That is a job that we do, even if it's not something that we get paid for. But a lot of us are, volunteering on boards of some kind and things like that in the community. Running 4-H or Girl Scouts or whatever. We might not get paid for that, but that is a job that we do that supports our families, that supports our communities. And so, we're going all day long. And a lot of us working also, either side hustles or actual jobs. Even if you're an at-home mom, a lot of us are still making money from home, or entrepreneurs or whatever. And so all day we're in go mode. All day. We're living in our masculine energy all day. That, outward facing, doing, externally projected, hard energy of making shit happen, multitasking, doing, checking off the to-do list, all of that. That's all very masculine, outwardly facing energy. And also we are directing our children. So, that's another part of that masculine. I mean, momming isn't typically thought of as masculine energy. But when we are, directing our children, being in charge of our children, especially with things like directing them in schoolwork and in chores and things like that, a lot of that is living in the masculine energy. And it's hard to soften back into our feminine energy, which is soft and flowing and inwardly focused, receptive, that kind of energy. And so then we're spending our whole day in fight or flight or freeze or fawn, our activated sympathetic nervous system. And we're also in our masculine do, go, go energy. And then our partners come home from work. And what do we tend to do? Well, I don't know about you, but I used to dump everything on him. It's like trauma dumping. I used to, word vomit at him about all the stress and want him to immediately come in and take over everything. And I, was in a very stressed out and anxious state. Or if I was still in that micromanaging energy, then when he would walk in the door, then I see him as just another chore on my to-do list and like another kid to micromanage. And so I'm coming at him with this energy. He comes in from working all day and, part of it in the back of my mind is like, oh, you lucky bastard, you get to go be around adults in your work environment all day doing what you want, right? And so, there's also some of that resentment coming in too. But, he comes in through the door and I'm coming at him with that energy, that stressed out, outwardly facing, projecting energy. And what does he do? He recoils, he pulls away, and he retreats. And of course, that's painful, Of course, I feel hurt and dropped and resentful about this. And so that was a big problem, a big fight in our family. And I always thought that it was him that needed to change and him that needed to understand and him that needed to walk in the door and know how to pick up the pieces and help me. And yes, that's not to completely let men off the hook here, but to stay in my own lane, and as women to stay in our own lane and to control what we can control, which is ourselves and the way we behave, and to get out of that victim consciousness, that victim mentality of making it someone else's fault, I believe is super important and super empowering. And so what can we do? What are we in control of? And part of that is your energy. So where is it that you can drop into your feminine energy more? Where is it that you can regulate your own nervous system more? Hello, beautiful. Did you know it really helps this show if you like, subscribe, comment, rate, or share this episode? Did you also know that I have a $5 a month Patreon subscription? If you head over to patreon.com/Nicole Goff Speaks, you will find bonus content where I have an archive of health and wellness advice that you will not get anywhere else. So please support Ecstatic Life to make your life and mine more ecstatic. Thank you. All right, we're back. My co-host had to take a little pee-pee break. And so where were we? Okay, so regulating your own nervous system, staying in your own lane, doing the work on yourself. Yes, these are probably unpopular opinions. And if any of my podcasts get me flack, it will probably be this one. Because so many of us, and I was there, fully in victim consciousness, fully in, externally pointing the finger outward. And what he needs to do is he needs to step up and he needs to be a real father and he needs to be a real man and take control of the situation and, on and on and on. So all things that I could not control. And it's very easy to fall into that trap and to stay in that cycle. And this combination of our dysregulated nervous systems and our being in our masculine energy all the time and our tendency towards this martyrdom or this victimhood consciousness really create this like perfect storm. And so we are coming at our masculine partners with all of this wounded feminine energy. And it makes sense. It makes sense because of how we're raised and what we know to be true in the world and, where we're at as women right now, after the years of the feminist agenda and the brainwashing that women should compete with men and women should be just like men. And, this agenda, frankly, to break apart families, break apart the family system. And it has been working. It has definitely been working. And so where is it that you can drop into your feminine energy more? Where is it that you can find a way to regulate your own nervous system? And how can you do that? So how? Well, I think that what's really important is to create a rhythm for yourself, a rhythm for your family. So a rhythm for your day and a rhythm for your week. Rhythms based on your cycle. I'm about to have a PDF freebie that's going to be coming out on my website, like I said before, NicoleGoffSpeaks.com, that will talk about your productivity and your schedule based on your cycle. So cycle tracking is something else that's kind of in the zeitgeist right now. And I only learned about this, surprisingly, very recently. And so I have been, for the last year, trying to learn about when I should be productive, when I should be more in that masculine energy, when I should be more in that drive and go mode, and when I should be more soft, according to where I'm at on my cycle too, when I should be more into self-care and more into softening. So creating these rhythms and honoring them is really important for women as cyclical beings. So I say, to start there. What are your daily rhythms? How can you create a daily rhythm? I think that starts with circadian rhythm reset. And so honoring when your body needs to go to sleep and when it needs to wake up. And it sounds like so simple, right? Like that sounds like really like a duh, but how many of us are actually honoring our circadian rhythm? And so that was a big part of my health reclamation a few years ago was I started going to bed early. I don't use screens at night because that messes up your ability to fall asleep. I go to bed early and I wake up early. Go to bed with the sun, wake up with the sun. Of course, not so much on the long winter months. That obviously has to be adapted, but generally resetting my circadian rhythm really changed so much. It opened up so much more for me. And so we will have our peaks of high energy and our dips of low energy throughout the day, and getting used to those and tracking those and going with that flow. Also the flow of the family's needs, creating a rhythm, creating a predictable schedule throughout the day that can be followed so that everybody is kind of on board and knows what is going on. That will save you a lot of nervous system stress. You can get into these flows and these rhythms where things become a little more automated instead of constantly having to be thinking about what it is you have to do. We carry so much in our heads as moms, as the overseers and conductors and organizers of the entire household. we carry so much in our brains all at one time. And to be able to get some of that out, putting pen to paper is a really good way to do that by, writing down, journaling, or writing in a planner every day what your day is going to look like. That can get some of that out of your head. So you're not having to hold so much in your head, in your brain at one time. And so, creating these systems can relieve a lot of stress. Another thing is to take mini self-care breaks throughout the day. So mini, M-I-N-I, not M-A-N-Y. You can take many also, but little self-care breaks throughout the day, and building those into your system. I try to start my day with self-care and gratitude every morning, and that really sets me up to have a really good day. So I start off with a gratitude practice where literally I express my gratitude for being alive and for this new day. I like to do my sauna and my meditation in the morning and facial massage and these things that I do first thing in the morning before caring for my kids, before, organizing the family. They really help to set my day. So then you can also do little things throughout the day to regulate your nervous system, to drop you back into your feminine, relaxed energy. And these little self-care rituals can really help you to sustain and to create calm and to create ease and to create flow and to stay in your higher self and to stay in your higher energy. So some things that create some immediate ways to regulate your nervous system can be things like breath work. Breath work is really, really good for that. And there are a lot of free breathwork practices available on the internet. You can look them up. Also, one thing that really helps me anytime I'm feeling dysregulated is to walk outside, touch the earth with my bare feet, and look into the sun. That act of grounding can really, really help you to drop back into your body and to regulate yourself. Oh, there's a boy coming at me with scissors. Can we find something else to play with, my dude? Another thing that can help you to regulate your nervous system immediately is to hum or to sing. So humming and singing, the vibration in your throat actually, and I cannot remember the science behind this, but I tell you it does work, can help you to regulate your nervous system. So there are other practices, meditation, yoga, more formal practices, but just little things like that can really help to just create a reset for you. And so another thing that you can do is to create a sacred transition between your masculine energy and your feminine energy, because a lot of times during the day, we do need to be in that masculine energy to hold that space and to hold that container for our families, for our children. But, or if we are not stay-at-home moms, if we're working moms or work-at-home moms, we are holding that masculine energy and creating that masculine container for our jobs as well. So yes, it is a requirement for us to hold that space and to hold that masculine container, to hold that energy for a lot of the day. And even if we are taking these sacred pauses for ourselves to slip back into our feminine energy, into our flow, to care for ourselves, to give our nervous system that rest and relax that it needs, to send a signal of safety to the body, we still, as the mothers, as the caretakers of the family, have to hold that container. And so I think that it's important that we learn to transition out of that energy. And so if you're living in a traditional family system where, dad goes off to work and then comes home in the afternoon, I feel like what's really helped me and what can really help women in general is to learn to meet your man after that transition, to create a sacred ritual of transitioning from that masculine into that feminine energy before interacting with our partners. Because when we hit our masculine partners with that masculine energy, it's not getting us the reaction that we want. As women, we want to be able to soften into our masculine partners. We want to feel held by them. But when we're coming at them with that same masculine energy, we are not creating in them the desire to hold us in those ways. And so again, I just feel like this might trigger some people. So I guess if this triggers you, bring it on in the comments. But if we can learn to soften, then we can set ourselves up to receive what it is that we truly want and desire. And so if we do need support, if we need to voice our need for support or comfort or whatever it is, then if we can come to our masculine partners with an energy of true desire from a feminine energy, they will be able to receive that so much better than if we come with, a bitching, nagging energy with as my coach calls it, a thorny energy. And so how can we do that? How can we soften into our feminine energy? How can we have a sacred transition so that we are meeting our partners in a way that they can receive us and that we feel fully embraced and held? So if at all possible, it would be amazing if you can set up each day 30 minutes or an hour, a set amount of time in the afternoon where you let go and unwind and fully steep in your feminine energy, in your pleasure. And this could look like putting on your favorite music and dancing. I mean, this doesn't have to be something that you do without kids around. Like, you can have dance party time with your kids. Music and dancing and singing is a really surefire way to get into your feminine energy very fast. But then it can look like alone time. And that could be like a relaxing bath or shower by yourself. And just a way to exhale and wash it all away and let go and soften. Self-pleasuring is a very good way. Also, meditation, or, you can do a beauty care ritual. Maybe change from your clothes from the day, from chores and everything, into something flowy and sensual feeling, like a flowy dress. And, freshen yourself up. There's some people like, oh my God, this sounds so sexist. But no, it's true. Like, a beauty care ritual and just a fresh set of clothes can really drop you into your feminine energy. And so, these are things that I try to be mindful of. This is kind of like, I guess, the old classic portrayal would be like the wife changing into her like high heels and greeting her husband at the door with a cocktail. Like, that's very 50s, right? So this again, I can hear people cringing already. This is kind of the energy, though. Like, you coming to your man with this softness and this femininity is really going to get you the reception that you want. So again, what are you in control of? So by focusing on what you want and what you need in that moment, softening into your feminine energy, into your feminine essence, really giving that breath and that openness, that pleasure to yourself is the key. And the masculine energy will follow. And I've seen this firsthand. This has transformed my relationship and how I get my needs met. And it doesn't doesn't seem intuitive, but truly working on yourself, working on your nervous system, working on your energy, working on your needs and your wants, and giving to yourself is a surefire way to heal your relationship, or to begin at least healing your relationship with your masculine partner. So I hope that this transmission was received by those who needed to hear it. If you would like to have a deeper dive on this, feel free to reach out to me. If you take issue with it, feel free to reach out with me too. All right, beautiful. Have a blessed day.